Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Get started in just about 2 minutes. Got about 20 people that signed up for tonight, so I'm gonna give them a few minutes to come in. They came in a little not late last night, so we'll get started in a few minutes. We're gonna go ahead and get started, and we'll let the other ones join on in as they come in. This is a recorded session. Welcome to night 2 of Maximizing You. Last night we had an amazing time last night. We gave a great overview of what we're going to delve into for tonight and tomorrow night. I thoroughly enjoyed the participation, the feedback from last night. And so a little housekeeping, if you would put your comments or questions in the chat, I'll answer those questions on tomorrow night. Once I gather everybody's questions, that way I can have a little time tomorrow night for question and answers. I'm going to leave space tomorrow night for question and answers. So put those in the chat and those comments, and then we'll kind of go from there. But I'm excited about this journey that I've been building upon. This is something that's been long overdue, that I should have started a while ago. But over time, you know, things happen and things go awry and you find yourself doing other things. So I am excited about this opportunity just to share. So tonight we're getting right back into the topic tonight on detoxing your brain, how to detox your brain. I think what's very imperative, what's very important is that we have to realize that there are things that enter into our psyche or into our brain that are not necessarily healthy for us. And many times we don't know how to get rid of those thoughts. And anything you think on long enough, it becomes real or it becomes a reality. And what I've learned in my short 49 years of living is that life is too short for me to always focus on what I should have thought I should have changed or what I could have done. There are things that we can't change. I don't care how much you want to change some things in the past, we can't. But what we can do, we can change the future going forward. And how we do that. We do that by the way, how we think and what we perceive. So tonight, we're going to talk about 2 topics tonight. How to gather information to detox your brain. And then we're going to talk about the second one is how to focus more clearly on how to reflect it. So it's going to be more a focused reflection on question number 2. So we're going to talk about gathering tonight. So but you get your paper and your pencils. Last night we did a PowerPoint last night. But tonight we're just going to have some conversation, some dialogue. This is a recorded session, so if you missed something, I'll be able to email it back out to you and you can listen to it again. So we're only live on Zoom. We're not live on the YouTube channel or Facebook. So this will be more of an intimate setting. So I know that some of you will go back and catch it and I'll email it out to you and you'll catch it and you'll have questions for it. And that's fine. And I'll go back into it and I'll answer your questions. But I want to get right into it tonight because I believe tonight is going to really be paramount for you as well as for me. So what does it mean to gather? Whenever we gather, we always think about gathering together like as a family. But have you ever thought about what does it mean really to gather your thoughts? Have you ever thought, what does it mean to really gather your thoughts? So when you gather your thoughts, you're gathering your thoughts in a way that helps you to redirect those negative thoughts. In other words, developing a disciplined thought life is increasing your awareness of what you are allowing into your mind. You have to be aware of what you allow to come into your mind. I talked about this last night. Last night, we talked about those infomercials. You know, when you can't sleep at night and the infomercial comes on and you start watching the infomercial. I know I've been guilty, and they'll show you a gadget or something. The first thing you do is, oh, I need that, and you'll buy it. And you realize it'll sit in a room, in a closet, in the corner for about 3 or 4 months. You never used it. It's because in our mind, we sat there, we looked at the infomercial, and they made it look so inviting. They made it look so easy to do. And you realize once you got it home, what am I going to do with this? It's the same thing with your mind. Whatever you allow to come into your subconscious mind, and you realize over time, why did I allow myself to go down that rabbit hole, chasing a thought I know I cannot change? But remember, I said on last night, you cannot do brain surgery on yourself. Only God can do that. So if you're ever going to change your dynamics of your brain, you have to go back to the creator of it. And the creator of your brain is God. He created the way you think. He created who you'll be connected to. And more than anything, God created your mind and my mind. He designed it that it would glorify him. So whenever we allow ourselves to be pulled away from, then we're getting pulled away from the original intent of what God designed us. So if you ever want to know the creator, if you ever want to know the purpose of a thing, go back to the creator, and the creator is God. The gather step is becoming aware of all of the signals and the signs that are coming into your mind and into your environment. It is so important. I cannot stress this enough. It is so important that you protect your environment. Do not allow anyone and anything to come and disturb your environment. That's your home, your job, your family, because those are your place of peace. So whenever those environments are disturbed by other elements, you find yourself saying, how did I get here? How did I allow someone to come into my space, my environment, and change the way I think and the way I perceive things? Remember, everything always gives you a sign. There's always a sign. There's always something that comes before it. It may be a trigger. It's just like growing up, my granddaddy, he made biscuits and he made fudge. And I'm not really a chocolate person, but I look forward to the holidays because I would always know that he would make biscuits and he would always make fudge. So that smell. So every now and again, I can go somewhere, I can smell a fudge, and it reminds me of when I was growing up, because that thought became an image in my mind. So the smell took me back to my childhood. That was a good moment for me. And so we have to realize that our environment plays a very crucial part in how we perceive what we think. We have to take the time to gather your thoughts and look at how God made you. We are the change agents that is looking for, but it must begin in your mind. Let's look at Genesis 1:26. Genesis 1:26 is I love the book of Genesis. So if you never take the time to really look at Genesis in its entirety, read the book of Genesis. I want to challenge you to do that in January. Challenge you to read your book or two a month and to really study it. It really grows your mind. It really expands your thought pattern. It really grows you up. We talked about growth last night, and we have to look at instead of saying I can't do it, say I'm going to try to do that much harder the next time. So we have to really look at it. So Genesis 1:26. Let's get there. Genesis 1, chapter 1, verse 26. And it says, then God said, let us make mankind in our image and in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky and over the livestock and all of the wild animals and over all the creatures that move along the ground. Well, let's go back up to that first part. It says, then God said, let us make mankind in our image. You and I were created in the image of God. Therefore, our minds, our thoughts are a direct reflection of who God is. We must realize that our life and our thought pattern is just not for you and I, but we were created to be the change agents in our lives, in our families' lives, on our jobs. I don't want you just to exist, but I want you to exist with purpose. I want you to exist with change in mind, because if you're ever going to change who you are, you must realize that the change that I want to become, it must first start with me. A couple of months ago, I had engaged in a conversation with an individual, and I allowed myself to get pulled in to the environment. And so I allowed the environment to change me when I should have changed the environment. And I realized that in my mind, I beat myself up because that was not my character. Because of everything that was going on, I saw that person, for the lack of a better word, the enemy. When really I allowed myself to get pulled in to their environment, when I should have pulled them into my environment. Remember, you have to be the change you want to become. Your thoughts have listen to this. This is so important. This is paramount. Your thoughts have an emotional component in gathering. The emotions that we gather, we see and process them in our mind first, that morphs into your feelings. I'll read that statement again. Your thoughts have an emotional component in gathering the way you think. The emotions that we gather, we see them and we process them in our minds first, and then they morph into our emotions. Your emotions start in your mind, not in your heart first. We talked about last night, as a man thinketh, so is he. It starts in your mind. So what you have to change the way you think if you want to be the change agent that you're looking for. No matter how successful you become in life, change only has to start with you first, but it's got to start in your mind. Stop allowing people and places and things to change you. You be the change that you want to see in your life. We feel our emotions in our thoughts. Whenever you think about depression, you think about sadness, you think about being a burden or heaviness, you think about stress, it all starts in your mind because it starts as a thought. And what happens, we begin to feed that thought, and we feed it until it becomes a reality. And so what I want us to do tonight, to really look at, what are you gathering that manifests itself through your emotions? Is it healthy or is it unhealthy? The reason a lot of relationships struggle is because the other person gets a thought in their mind, and the other person gets a thought in their mind. And as opposed to thinking about those thoughts, we assume instead of communicating what we feel in our mind. Because if you never express what you think, they're never going to know how you feel. It is about, first of all, you've got to learn how to communicate. And I don't want to take a jab at men and women. I'm going to come for you tonight too. But a lot of times I hear a lot of men say, well, I struggle with commitment. And I'm one of these women that struggle with commitment. I can be the first to be transparent. I struggle with commitment because commitment is going to change me. Commitment is not really going to change you. It only changes you if you allow it to change you. But I had to ask myself this question. I could be committed to my job. I could be committed to going to church. I could be committed to going out with my friends. But when it comes to relationships, why do I struggle to be committed in them? It's because of what I thought about commitment. So I myself have had to change how I see the word commitment. Commitment to me, in my language, look negative. Commitment's not negative. It can really be a very positive and healthy thought, but it's all in how you see it. Every relationship, I don't care what relationship it is, be it co-worker, mother, father, son, children, wife, whatever it is, there's a level of commitment there that you have to have in order for that relationship to work. You say you love hard, you say you work hard, but are you committed hard? You can work hard and not be committed. You can love hard and not be committed. You can think hard and it never manifests itself. So I'm using myself for example. I've been planning and working on these webinars and masterclasses for almost this whole year. And I kept telling myself, I got time, I got time, I got time, I got time. Only to realize I'm at the end of the year and I haven't done it. So I had to launch out into the deep and say, Erika, if I don't do it now, I won't do it. So I had to change the way I saw what I wanted to do with my life outside of my vocation, outside of what I do in ministry, because I really feel that I have been called to be a change agent. I know I have influence, but if I never use my influence to change to change the way other people see themselves, it's only a thought in my mind. It's only going to be what I want it to be, but I've got to learn to be a change agent. You are able to accept and reject thoughts that float in your mind. You have the power to accept and to reject thoughts that float in your mind. As we look at stress, we think about how stress affects us. Stress, for many of us, creates negative thoughts. Stress will create negative thoughts because society has told us that stress is a negative area. But there's good stress. There's stress that motivates you. There is stress that empowers you. There is stress in your life that makes you want to do better because it is pushing you to the next level. But because society is focused so much on the negative aspect of what stress really is, we never see stress from a positive standpoint. We only see it from a negative standpoint. We have to realize that life is more than just existing. You have to become change. Stage 1 of stress is good, and it keeps you alert and focused. Stages 2 and 3 of stress is where stress goes wrong. That's whenever the train derails, as we talked about last night. And when the train derails, we try to chase the train to get it back on the track, only to realize that I don't have enough momentum or speed to catch that train. So now that train has got off the track. And so now I'm working overtime to find a replacement for that train, when you can only change what's in front of you. Remember, we have to change what's around us so that we can change what's within us. And then if you want to change what's within you, you got to change what's around you. You've got to focus on, and you got to see yourself, the stress by itself in the stage 1 can be good. And it keeps you alert and focused. But stress in its stage 2 and 3, it can go wrong. Stress is an indirect indicator that releases endorphins that something is wrong. It releases endorphins in our brain that something is going wrong. And immediately it's almost like a light bulb or an alarm goes off in your head. Oh, okay. Let me stop. Let me pause. Maybe let me step back and look at this thing because I don't want to react wrong. I've been guilty for reacting wrong. I've been guilty of looking at stress from its wrong context. But I want you to understand something, that when you feel that unction, there's something that goes off on the inside of you that says, wait a minute, pause. That means that that level of stress now has caused you to look at your life from a different lens. Stress starts in your brain or your thought pattern. Its stress can become very overwhelming. It can flood your mind with the how, the what, the when, and the who. And you find yourself chasing those answers, and you find yourself looking like, well, who is the who? Where is it? What is it? How can I fix it? How can I change it? We are by nature changers and fixers. But I want us to realize something. We can't change everything and we can't fix everything. But what we can do is we can become the best we can be in that situation. But what I want you to do before you react, think about it. How is this going to impact me if I react wrong? How is this going to impact me if I find myself doing the same thing over and over and over again? You have to become the change you want to see. Stress can affect your mental health and your mental wealth. Your brain is the most wealthiest and the most healthiest organ in your body. Let me say that again. Your brain is the most wealthiest and the healthiest organ in your body. Dr. Miles Monroe, he made a statement years ago in one of the books he wrote. He said, the wealthiest place is the cemetery, because there are many people died with ideas and concepts in their mind that they never released. I don't want you to leave this earth with a lot of ideas and concepts, but I want you to die empty, knowing you gave life everything that you could. And you cannot allow stress to derail your train and get off track because you're focusing on the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. We're going to always have those. But remember, if you want to change your environment, you got to change the way you think. There's a movie that came out in the 1980s. It's called Short Circuit. Some of you may have remembered that movie. I like the little movie. We talked about prototypes last night. So in the movie Short Circuit, there was an experimental military experiment where they built a little mini robot. And in the movie, the robot was struck by lightning and it gained a human-like intelligence. In other words, it became, it felt, it began to speak and operate as if it was human, but it was a robot. And so what we do, we build these prototype ideas, robots in our mind, and we try to build them here in reality, and we start missing pieces because we're trying to build something that we saw. But everything you see is not for you. And so in the Short Circuit movie, they begin to try to rewire and rework the prototype of the robot, but they couldn't because it had already taken on a human-like form. The only person that can change your DNA is God. And next to God is you. Your DNA was created to change things around you. What do you mean by DNA? Your DNA is to be aware. Don't allow negative ideas and environments to aggravate you. Don't allow negative environments to aggravate you. DNA. Don't allow negative environments to aggravate you. We get aggravated. And we talked about last night, what you reflect, you deflect. So if you're agitated in your mind, it comes through your emotions and then you reflect it on somebody else. And that's not always fair to the other person because of what you thought in your mind, you begin to reflect it. That's why you have to pay close attention who you let in your circle. Don't be persuaded. It amazes me how we can allow people to come into our circles who really have no who really have no direct communication with us or what's going on around us, or even really know about your situation. But they can be influenced by what other people say about you. And they know you, especially if we've been friends 5, 10, 15 years, and then you allow somebody to come in and change the way you see me or what you think about me because of what they said. And they really have no direct correlation with that. You've got to watch people like that. People like that, in my opinion, they are really takers. They're takers. They're not adding to you. And you have to really watch, because when those people come into your environment and they start dropping thoughts and seeds in your mind, a lot of times they want to sabotage the relationships you have with other people because they see how successful they are. And if you get connected to success, hear me, if you ever get connected to success and you see yourself shifting, the people on the block, the people you grew up with, the people you thought were really for you, they'll start looking at you in a different light and say, oh, you changed. No, I ain't changed. I just think differently. I realize that where I'm going, you're not going. In other words, I woke up. My mind woke up. And I begin to think about, I don't want to stay in this environment that I'm at because there's more in me that I got to give out. So what I got to do is become the change I want to see. Change is good. You can only become the change you want to be if you desire to change. But it must begin in here. The second thing we're going to talk about tonight is focused reflection. Focused reflection. I said last night, science is catching up with the Bible very quickly. It amazes me how, I don't know if you all have really listened to or watched documentaries, or you listen to the news, especially when they begin to talk about different things. You start to see, they don't really say the Bible, but scientists begin to prove theories. And they look at theories and say, it's possible that this happened. You know, growing up in school, we talk about the Big Bang Theory, that the earth just came out of nowhere. Well, science has now proven that we didn't just come out of the Big Bang. There was something in the beginning that was formed, going back to Genesis. And out of that beginning, something began to grow and develop. And now the earth was formed with form and void. And the Bible says that God breathed upon the earth. And when he breathed upon the earth, he said, let there be, and the earth became. Now scientists are now come to reality. It wasn't just a theory. It is now reality. They're now have come and proven that they found the tomb where they laid Jesus. They didn't believe that it ever existed, but they found the tomb. So now scientists are now really looking at, is God really real? Is the Bible real? Several years ago, I got to go to one of the 7 wonders of the world, which is the Mayan ruins, which is on the other side of Cancun. And in the Mayan ruins, there are pyramids that the Egyptians had built. And what they have been doing, they have been excavating the hidden city. So we got to see some pyramids that were still down under. We got to see a city that had been covered up because the equator had shifted. But what amazed me about going to the Mayan ruins, those pyramids had been built over 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, and they were still standing. And many of them were in still great condition. And I believe because the environment, listen to what I'm saying, that it preserved them. It preserved that environment. Where I'm itching to go back because they were still excavating some more of the city and some more of the pyramids. At that time, they were not letting us go in. But we began to see some of the things that they had developed, some of the parts of the city, some of the buildings that they had built outside of the pyramids, the hieroglyphic writings on the wall. It's amazing me because it was a thought. A thought built a pyramid. A thought built a city. It was a thought. It didn't just come out of nowhere. Someone had to think about it, and they got a plan together. They had a mind to work together, and they built a fortified city. What would happen in your mind if you would tell yourself, I'm more than this? I can do more than this. I'm much more amazing than this. I'm not just who they say that I am, but I am who God says I am. And then ask yourself the question, God, who am I? As you're gathering, and we're looking now at focused reflection. Focused reflection is being mindful of who you are. You remember the song, Don't Worry, Be Happy? It's understanding the mindfulness and begin to engage in what I call healthy meditation. So sometimes I haven't done it lately, but I used to meditate a lot. I used to get really still. And one of my mentors said to me, he said, Erika, get a chair and sit it in the middle of a room, your living room, wherever, and just sit in a comfortable chair and close your eyes and let yourself decompress and begin to meditate on what it is your day was like and what you feel like you need to be doing. And so I found myself in a state of meditation that I got so relaxed that I could be, that the clarity of my thoughts became so clear that whatever chaos went on that day, because I was still enough and focused enough that I could do focused reflection of that day. And sometimes you need to just come on and just sit still and reflect on what my day looked like. What could I have done better? It's more than just going through the motions. We gain health and happiness and peace and exactly the instructions through the word of God. And it's through how we think. Let's look at Philippians 4:8. Philippians 4:8. Philippians 4:8 says this. I love this scripture. And I'm reading from the NIV version. It says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, and whatever is admirable. If anything is in excellence or praiseworthy, think about it, such things. You've got to learn to think about whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, whatever is excellent and praiseworthy, and think on those things. That was a lot. I want you to go back and look at that scripture. I want you to write out what is noble, what is true, what is right. Those are some things that you can begin to dissect in your own personal reflection and your own personal meditation time. This is a good scripture, a good text to meditate on, so that you can look at things around you. So don't push people away because they don't look like you. I'm pause there for a minute. I'm not talking about black or white. Don't push people away because they don't talk like you. They don't think like you. Sometimes it's just about exposure for them. Remember, you can become the change agent by the way you think. I want you to get this now. I'm sounding repetitive, but because I know it's so important that many of you understand that change is not just something we do, it's something that we become. Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, is the book of wisdom, and we are instructed to meditate on knowledge. So if you want to know where to start with the book of Proverbs. It's a good book of meditation. It's a good book of reflection. And it's a good book of knowledge and understanding. It says in Proverbs, and all I get and get an understanding. And you get an understanding about the way you think and what you perceive. To get out of a toxic thinking block, you need to think and understand and apply wisdom that you have gained. This means no thought should ever be allowed to control you. You should never allow a thought to control you. Never allow thought to control you. Never allow a thought to get that much power over you. You control it. Once you gather awareness, which disciplines, you need to be careful on what's going on in your brain. Then you need to go deep and focus on your reflection. What are you reflecting on? Reflection is something you've got to really look at. Reflection causes you to do introspection. Reflection causes you to do introspection. Relationships are built whenever you reflect. Stop looking at other people and measuring their lives based on you. You can be a great person if you think that you're great. If you think you're not great, you're not going to be great. You've got to be the confident. You have to be confident in what you think about yourself. When you walk into the room, own the room. When you walk into an establishment, you walk in there with confidence because it starts in your mind. Confidence is something that you wear. It's something that you become. You get dressed every day. Put on that confidence. Put on that mindset that today I'm not going to be controlled by my thoughts. I'm going to control my thoughts. I'm not going to be drawn into what other people think about me, but I'm going to be the change that people are looking for. When you think, focus, reflection, you change. When you become the focus reflection, you become the change. The deeper you think, the more change you can make. If you say you can't or won't, remember, mind controls matter. You think all day. You think at night, as you sleep, you sort out your thinking. You change the landscape of your life by the way you think and by the choices that you make. So have you ever been in your dream or sleeping and you thought all night long? And you've been thinking of how I'm going to change this and how I'm going to do this. And a lot of times it gets so embedded in our psyche that we sometimes push it back and we leave it there and we never go back and pick it up. So sometimes those dreams that you're having are good because those thoughts that you're having are good because at some point you may have buried them. Now they need to come to the forefront so you can deal with those thoughts or those ideas or those issues that you may have had or you may have dealt with. And because sometimes the issues that you're having may be with someone that's no longer here. We talked about that on last night. It may be with a coworker, mother, father, brother, sister, who's no longer here on the earth, or that may no longer be in close proximity to where you are. But even if they're going in the natural, you can still change. Dr. Erika, how do I do that? First, you've got to tell yourself, it's okay for me to grieve and to be okay that they're not here. That's number one. And then number two, you can't beat yourself up on the fact that if I would have done this, there are a lot of things that we wish that we could have done, but we haven't. There's some things that we wish that we should have said, but we didn't. I had a good friend of mine who passed away several years ago. And there's some things that I wanted to say to her, I never got a chance to say. And for a long time, I beat myself up. And so God had to say to me, Erika, you didn't get the chance. So stop staying in the moment that you didn't get to do it, but focus on what you did get to say to her. And in a dream, God allowed me to say those things in a dream. I know you sometimes say, oh, this is getting spooky. God will visit you. He'll allow you to have a visitation in your dream. That's a whole nother segment. But in your dream, in your thought pattern, your thinking, he'll allow it to come in your thinking, in your psyche, so that what you could have thought you wanted to say in the natural, he'll allow you to say it in your dream. We'll get to that on another segment. We'll talk about dreams another time. I do have an insight on dreams and visions. We have to bring into perspective every thought. It has its place. You have to shift how you think. 2 Corinthians 10:5. We have to tear down toxic strongholds. Let's go there. 2 Corinthians 10:5. 2 Corinthians 10:5. It says this, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And verse 6, and we will be ready to punish every act of disobedience once your obedience is complete. That's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy. But we have to demolish arguments. Don't let them linger. We got to demolish those things. And every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. Whatever challenges your thought as it relates to God, don't allow it to change what you believe. Don't allow your belief system to change because of an argument. Because of what somebody said God really isn't. If you've experienced God on any level, don't allow that to be changed because of what somebody else said. And then it says that we got to take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Whatever you are reflecting, you deflect. And whatever you deflect, you reflect. Imagine, images build physical thoughts. Images build physical thoughts. Let's go to Genesis 11:6. I hope this is you getting something out of this. I'm enjoying it. I'm really truly enjoying this. This is great. Genesis 11:6, and I'm going to read it out of the Amplified version. Let me get to that. And if Genesis 11:6. And it says in here, it says, and the people had a mind to work. And the people had a mind to work. They came together with an idea to build something. They had a mind to work. But it started as a thought. And eventually, if you read on it further in Genesis 11, they were building a ladder to heaven. And God came down and he eventually tore the ladder down because it was not done in the right context. They had a mind to build, but they were building for selfish intent. But the part that I want you to focus on, but they had a mind to work. They had a mind to build. Are you willing to build? Do you have the mind to build? That's the question. Do you want to build? Do you desire to build? Or do you want somebody else to build for you? That's the question. Do you want to build? Do you have a desire to build? And are you willing to build? Stop rehearsing something over and over for days on end to the point that you almost get out of control in your head. And you find yourself asking yourself, how did I get here? No matter what life No matter what hand life deals you, remember, the choices you make today will affect your tomorrow, will affect your future. Think about it before you act on it, because sometimes it's hard to mend a broken relationship whenever it's went too far. And if you really want to build it, put the time in to do it. But you got to think about it. Am I willing to build? Do I want to build with him? Do I want to build with her? Do I see my life building with them? I don't want to be in competition with them, but I want to build with them. I don't want what you got. If we're on the same team, we can build together. It's about the thought. Let's build this thing together. Stop building individually, but let's build together. We are stronger together. We can do more together. A healthy thought and a toxic thought cannot reside in the same space. Let me say that again. A healthy thought and a toxic thought cannot reside in the same space. The final contribution to focused reflection is the contribution of the heart. The heart makes a major contribution to our thinking process and decision making. Your heart is not just a pump. It helps with your decision making choices. It's a check-in station for all of the emotions generated by what you think. Your heart is the incubator of your constant communication with your brain and the rest of your body, checking for the accuracy and the integrity of your thought life. I know it's a lot. I'll say it again, but your heart is the incubator of the constant communication with your brain and the rest of your body, checking for the accuracy and the integrity of your thought life. Your thought life must be your priority. When you are about to make a major decision in your life, your heart will pop in a quiet word of advice and say, think on these things. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Every good and perfect gift comes from God. Your life is more than just existing, but I want you to exist with purpose. I want you to exist with meaning. And more than anything, let the mind that you have, let it be focused and rooted and grounded in God. And I promise you, God will blow your mind. He's in the blind blowing business. And you will imagine and you begin to think about things you would never would have thought that you could ever do, because it started with a thought. Guys, I'm through tonight. I pray that this was impactful. It was helpful. I pray that you were engaged. I hope this blessed your life as much as blessed my life. Tomorrow night is night 3, and we're going to finish this thing up strong tomorrow night. So I want you to come back and join me on the same platform, because I believe that as we begin to detox our thought here at the end of the year, we're preparing ourselves for a new year. 2023 is going to be an amazing year for all of us. I speak it, I believe it, and I hope you receive it. Where? In your mind. If no one's told you today, let me be the first to tell you I love you. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And live life on purpose. Have a good evening.